Okay, so I'm here with Lydia, who lives just north of the Kiev area. And Lydia, why don't you introduce yourself to the audience?
Hi, my name is Lidia. I'm 29 years old. I'm from Kherson in southern Ukraine. I lived in the city during the Russian occupation as a civilian person.
Mhm. And how would you describe the current situation in your kind of immediate area? Has there been any disruptions or things that you've noticed due to the war?
So, yeah, even after Kherson was deoccupied, it was no longer safe for my family and me to stay in Kherson because of constant shelling. So my family and I left the city after the occupation, and now we are internally displaced within Ukraine. And we face a lot of struggles due to Russian attacks. So almost every day we have air alerts. We have strikes on our power system, and we constantly have blackouts. So it is
Okay.
critical that we have power right now.
Do you guys ever like run out of heat?
Uh, if your house depends on electricity alone, then there won't be heating for you. And
Mhm.
sometimes in bigger cities, um, water also is distributed with electricity power, so there might be even water problems. So yeah,
Right.
but
Yeah, some people lose pretty much everything when the power
yeah,
goes out.
yeah. And
Um,
right now we have crazy minus temperatures, and
yeah,
our weather is crazy. So
yeah, we have the same kind of weather right now in the US, but obviously we don't have the air raids.
yeah,
So
fortunately,
yes,
yeah,
yes.
and I'm really happy for you, really.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Thank our lucky stars. Do you know anybody who's currently in the army?
Yeah, of course. I have family members who serve in military, Ukrainian military service.
Mhm.
I have some friends and really a lot of people from different backgrounds now serve in Ukrainian army. So
Mhm.
yeah, I have lots of family members and just acquaintances and friends. So yeah.
Would you say when you're out and about in your town that you see a lot of signs of military, whether it be soldiers or recruiting centers? Do you feel like there's kind of military presence everywhere?
I guess yes, because we live in this mental state of constantly being aware
Mhm.
of the war that is going on, because uh, it touches everyone. So it influences directly every civilian person. So of course you can see a military servicemen, you can see recruiting posters, and it is part of our life by now. So yeah.
Yeah, so it's kinda like, just everywhere you look, it's like a
Yeah.
full total war. Yeah,
Yeah, and
I'm
to
always
keep your
surprised
spirits up. Mhm.
I'm always surprised that Americans can kind of forget about it when it's such a huge deal, for the people actually fighting it. Um, would you say that you feel a lot of, and this is a personal question, do you feel a lot of stress or even sadness due to, having family and friends fighting?
Yeah, of course, because first of all, I worry a lot about them, and also it influences us because we constantly are thinking how much time would it take to end this war? What
Mm,
would be the consequences? We understand that every civilian is affected, and the mental scar it will leave on every person is tremendous.
right.
And of course, you are worrying about your dear people. Sometimes you need to go to the funerals of servicemen, of
Right.
your friends, of family members of your dear friends, and you cannot leave those people in such hard times. And it is really unfortunate that we have to go through this pain and just keep on holding on. So yeah, of
Right.
course, it influences us, and yeah, it is stressful as well during night. You will have airstrikes from Russia where there's 500 plus drones are flying all over your head, and after that, the missile launches will be just to strike your air defense systems even more, and power plants as well, so you won't get any power. So it is a really hard situation to be in, but we have no right to just relax,
Hmm.
because if we would put down the weapons, if we would say that, okay, we had enough struggle, there would be no Ukrainians. And I, as survivor of Russian occupation, could testimony that, because I've seen it, how the occupation really looks if Russia takes all of Ukraine. And
Hmm.
it is really their main goal. You should not believe their words that they need just several regions, because
Hmm.
their main goal is to have all of Ukraine.
Yeah, I think something you mentioned about the funerals, that was I just got back from Lviv.
Yeah.
The last time I had been in Ukraine was just before the war, and that was my biggest surprise. You know, obviously we see the news clips and we see what's on the in the media, but I didn't realize just how common the funerals are, like the active
Mm.
funerals, the memorials, the amount of graves, the amount of soldiers I saw walking around with oh, what are they, like canes and in
Yeah,
wheelchairs. It's
and with
everywhere.
prosthetics as well. Yeah,
And I feel bad because I like to think I'm educated on what's going on, but I didn't know, especially in Lviv, I didn't know there was that many killed and wounded just, on a daily basis, right? And
yeah.
it was very, very,
Unfortunately, so
very.
yeah, yeah,
And I remember thinking immediately, man, it must really be difficult to talk about peace and land swaps when this is the daily
yeah,
reality. And I think that's probably something understandably lost on Americans because we really, it's tough. It's very tough to imagine the amount of loss, right?
yeah.
So and right at the end there, you started talking about living through occupation in Kherson. This is
Hmm.
something that I followed very closely, and I was following this on like TikTok and YouTube, and I'm very curious. I mean, what was that experience like? Again, so for the Americans who this has been a while, Kherson is a region on the left bank of the Dnieper River that was occupied by Russia for what was it, like almost a year, a little less than a year.
It was 8 months.
8 months. Okay, I was close. Almost a year, 8 months, right? Russia eventually withdrew, right, and went back across the river. But for 8 months, this city, Kherson, which is, I believe, Kherson, it's a region, but it's also the name of the capital city in that region, right?
Yeah, yeah, right.
Okay. And did you live in the city or just the oblast?
Yeah. So, just a small clarification that the Kherson region itself is located on both sides of Dnipro River. So part of it is the right bank, which was deoccupied, and the region city is located on the right bank of Dnipro, and the left bank, unfortunately, is still being occupied. So,
Oh, okay.
yeah,
That's
and
interesting. When you look at a map, I always thought when you look at a map, it's on the left. So what she's saying
yeah.
is it's on the western side of the river. I guess I don't understand how you guys call the banks, but
Like the western side is occupied still, and the like when you look on the map, so the left side of the map is deoccupied,
okay.
and the right side that on the map that is closer to the Donetsk region, it is still under the occupation.
Okay, and you are from the now the now deoccupied area, correct?
Yes, from
Okay.
Kherson itself. So when the full-scale invasion started, I was living with my husband and his family in the suburban town of Kherson.
Hmm.
It's just outside the city line of Kherson. So we got explosions on Kherson airport and military bases that were around that area. So we drew back to Kherson to my parents' house because it was, I don't know, it was in our first thoughts, it was more safe
Hmm.
to hide if anything happens bad. So yeah. And really, it is quite hard to summarize occupation in just a few words because it is such a multi-layered operation, and Russia has mastered these tactics over many years that they have
Hmm.
done occupations of our country and other countries as well, like Georgia or Sakartvelo, as it is right to say it now. So they mastered the tactics of occupation, and there is a clear structure to Russian occupation, and one that affects every aspect of civilian life. And I usually have like I usually describe my experience through few main points, but each point has so many small details that just pile up into this huge system which Russia spreads when they occupy your region.
What did how did people in general, like your neighbors, how did they feel about the occupation?
Devastated. Oh,
Devastated. Why?
it was really stressful because unfortunately we know our
Hmm.
neighboring country, I mean, and we knew exactly what they will do. So we knew that tough times will be coming. Of course, there were betrayers, so people who were happy because they were under Russian propaganda for many years. Usually, it is older generation that are reminiscent of Soviet era, and it is quite easy to feed them to today life propaganda from
Right.
Russian television. So, but overall, our region, even though we were Russian-speaking region, but mainly we have such a clear understanding that our region is Ukraine. What do you mean? So
Right.
it was crazy for us, even since 2014, when Russia tried to do the same scheme they did in Donetsk and Luhansk region. They tried it also in Kherson region with so-called manifestations and some kind of meetings, but they were clearly overthrown just in the same day. So
Why do
they
you,
were.
sorry to interrupt, but why do you think it worked in Donetsk but not in Kherson? Like what was different, do you think?
I think that they uh, invested more time and finance in that region. So they poured a lot of money to buy influential people in that region to fed lies, and they used that. And as well, we had no visa border control with Russia. So they
Hmm.
flew Russian people, citizens of Russia, into Ukraine to draw this vision of some kind of protests, pro-Russian protests.
Right.
So
That's what they say
they,
we do. That's what
yeah,
they're
of
always
course,
saying that we do
they,
that. It's like I feel
yeah,
like
and
it's kind of funny because whenever I've gone to Ukraine or even Poland, everybody seems to immediately be able to tell I'm American. So I don't know how we would pull that off, but that's what they say we do.
they so they financed more such operations in those regions, and we were um, in war situation politically at that time. So they just found a nice time to have this operation done.
So it's
And
kind of like the opportunity wasn't there anymore for them, right?
yeah,
Like people had
yeah,
gotten wise. Okay, so
yeah.
this is all really great. This is great information. I do want to go back to you though, because I think this is the part that Americans need the most help with is we're a little detached over here on our island, right? So I'm wondering, going back to the story of living under occupation, can you think of, do you maybe have a personal story you could share that would help kind of put it in perspective for people, what it was like?
Yeah, it was really hectic times
Hmm.
because as soon as we knew that our city, our region is occupied, there was really devastating mood, and
Right.
everyone knew that we would need to survive.
Hmm.
And it was pretty much difficult during the whole occupation because this multi-layered operation touches every aspect of your life. As soon as there is occupation, there were troubles with buying food and medicines. Further on, Russia tried to push their currency. They prohibited using Ukrainian currency. So you needed to find ways. And, you know, when you live in the same area and you go to the local market, local salesperson knows just approximately usual customers.
Hmm.
So they were drawing paying terminals from under the table to those that they knew to pay for their food. Medicine, it just prices for everything just skyrocketed, 3, 4 times for food and even more sometimes for medicine. And they didn't allow any humanitarian aid into our region,
Hmm.
even when Ukrainian government had an agreement um, to allow some of the humanitarian aid. They just turned around those cars, looted them, and after that, they were giving out that food as if it is their
Oh,
humanitarian aid.
nice. Wow, nice.
And it was clearly when Russian soldier gives you, for example, I know, like like sunflower seed oil made in Ukraine with Ukrainian name.
Right.
It is clearly as day what happened in there. So yeah, and
Do,
they yeah,
sorry to interrupt. Do you know anybody who, speaking about these soldiers, do you know anybody who was killed or injured by these kind of security forces?
yeah, unfortunately so. So a friend of our family, he had his really young family started. He, his wife, and their newborn child were hiding in the basement of their motor store building with their apartment building, basically. So they were hiding in there. And when he went up to their apartment to have some baby food back into the basement, he was shot on the streets just because they were trying to force this sense of fear,
Right.
and it was constantly done. Sometimes when you walk out on the streets in the mornings, because you can run your daily errands only during the mornings at 1 p.m. approximately, the city center was dead with no people around.
Hmm.
So it was quite,
So
post-apocalyptic.
they were really just killing civilians throughout this
Yeah,
time.
just on the point. So you needed to try to be unnoticeable. So you needed to find some ways.
It's really shocking that any army in the 21st century could operate that way. Because I mean, look, I know the American Army's done some controversial things. I don't think I can't imagine just shooting people in the street for fear. I don't understand that. That's terrible.
It is, yeah, and it was so crazy for us as well because when you go out, you usually don't think about the color of your clothing, right? Like the composition and other stuff. But during the occupation, you need to think through if you're wearing right colors, because if you, without a thought, just threw on some blue and yellow combination of colors,
they'd kill you.
You would be shot. Yeah, with no question.
It's like it's almost like we have these like in very, very dangerous areas in the US, like they're very rare. We have gangs who do that. It blows my mind that the second biggest army could even function this way. It's very weird.
And it
very
is
weird.
Their politics, and it is their tactics. So, and that's it.
It almost sounds like, and I completely believe you. That's not what I'm saying, but it almost sounds like something you read in like a horror book, like this is stuff that happened hundreds of years ago, but I can't believe it happens now.
Such a barbarian way of thinking. And when you know that there are torture basements in the city,
right.
people were just missing and you didn't know what happened to them. And when you go for your errands in the morning and you see a pool of blood on the sidewalk, you can just imagine what happened, and that's it. You have
did you see that?
Yeah, of course.
You saw pools of blood on the sidewalk.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Did you ever? This is going to sound like a silly question, but again, this is why we're doing this. Did you ever feel like maybe Russia was trying to help you, or they were trying to save you from the Ukrainian government? Did you ever feel that way?
No, not at all. No.
Oh, not at all. Not for a second.
Not for a second, because first of all, we never called them for any help. We were living our peaceful life. So Kherson is not a very big city by any means. It's not the capital of Ukraine. It's not New York. It's a more rural and quiet life city.
A lot of farm.
We were just really happy living our lives, having
Kharkiv was the same. Everyone was very content.
Yes, and they just broke in. They shot people. They just made torture basements in our city with torturing people with electricity and other barbaric methods that they use. And it is a full-on tactics and their like manual how to treat Ukrainians, really.
Wow.
They weren't helping at all. And really, they blocked our internet.
I can't believe they still do this, though. You know what I mean? It's weird that they still do it.
Yeah. And it is.
I mean, it was bad. It was bad when Stalin did it. Of course, definitely.
Of course.
It was still bad then, but it's just weird that they haven't changed anything. Let me ask you this. I mean, do you think, because a lot of Americans, we're just seeing news, we're just seeing the map.
Yeah.
I got confused earlier because I'm so used to just looking at the map, right?
Yeah.
In these red areas that are currently occupied, do you think this is still how it's being managed by Russia?
Of course, I have no doubt.
Of course, you have no doubt. Okay.
Yeah, I have no doubt, because they, in Donetsk and Luhansk regions, they conscripted all of men into their army. So sometimes even in Kherson region, there were conscripted civilians, like ex-civilians from those regions. And I have no doubt at all that they still have this going on. And what they did with Mariupol, I have a dear friend of mine that flew from Mariupol after they occupied the city. She saw it with her own eyes. They were cooking food in their under their apartment buildings, under the sky.
In the basement, right?
In a basement as well. So yeah, and we know ourselves that it is how they think. they don't see us as human beings. They don't see us as people, and they have this, the feeling of extreme power over us, as if they have any right to do anything to anyone. So it was completely crazy and horrific, even to me, when I remembering stuff from occupation time. It seems like a complete horror to myself.
Movie. It really seems like
Yeah.
like a George Orwell book or something. It's very strange to hear people saying this. I knew it was bad. It's very weird to hear. That just was like the main method of how they did things. What are the odds that Putin wants to make a peace deal right now? I mean, what in your opinion, what do you think that's not likely?
No.
What do you think this is all about then? Because we're hearing all about this, about these peace talks, and what is this? What are we doing here?
I suppose that those so-called peace talks are just trying to drag on some time, to have more time, because I suppose that Putin believes that our defense will fall earlier than their economics. So
Okay.
I suppose that, and he is ill in his head. And I suppose that his idea of occupying Ukraine started when he saw in the past that Ukrainians want European way of life, that they want to join European family, or how you would call
I
it.
just want to be clear about this. Feel free to correct me. As far as I know, Maidan was about wanting to join the EU. I don't believe that was about trying to join NATO. Am I incorrect?
I suppose that first of all, it was about joining EU.
Okay.
But as to join NATO as well, because we completely understand what Russia is.
Right.
And this war is just a part of ongoing, sick ideas of Russian presidents, tsars, and other, like Stalin. They always wanted us to be a part of their country, just to have us as a resource base. So
right, this is another thing. Just so Americans know, I think if not a majority, a large plurality of the food in Europe comes from Ukraine, right?
Yeah.
Because it's if you ever fly over Ukraine, you'll just see farm after farm after farm. It's very fertile soil, and there's not a lot of. I could be incorrect about this. I apologize if I am, but as I understand it, Europe is not known for having great farmland in general. So Ukraine's kind of this exception where a lot of farming is done.
Basket of food of Europe and
right.
in the world as well, because we export a lot of grains, for example, sunflower seeds, oil, and other stuff. So yeah.
Maybe just to make this clear, so the Holodomor, it was this genocide of Ukrainians, right? Some people think it was Stalin stopped sending food to Ukraine. Actually, he waited for the Ukrainians to grow all the food, and he just took it, right? So it was they were always supplying food to Russia. Okay, this has really been fantastic. A lot. Again, I thought I think I'm informed on this stuff, but it's just amazing how. And I mean, I felt some of it last week when I was in Lviv, just how dark of a situation it is. The enemy you guys have is very disturbed, to put it mildly. But on a closing statement here, the idea of this. So first, I'm going to ask you a couple quick questions, answer them honestly, and then we're going to close with if you have a message for Americans, because the idea here is just to get information to people, right? If you had a quick message for Americans. Before I do that, because of the political climate, I'm going to ask you a couple questions. Answer honestly. Okay, so first question. Did I, Nick Dolepsky, did I pay you to say anything you just said?
No, not at all.
Were you paid by the Ukrainian government or militias to say anything you just said?
No.
Okay. Has anyone other than myself contacted you privately telling you to say things that you just said to me?
No.
Okay. So everything, I just reached out to you. I said, I just want information from Ukrainians. This is totally free. It's optional. You told me your experiences.
Yeah,
No
I
one,
contacted
no one,
you. Yeah,
yeah,
myself.
nobody forced you to say anything that you just said.
Of course not.
And is everything you just said, is that in your opinion, is that a good representation of your actual experience?
Yeah, it
Okay.
is a truthful experience.
Zrozumiv. All right.
Oh yeah, your Ukrainian is quite great.
Chudova. So what would you, if you had one final message, just the average American, good person, they work a lot. They don't know a ton about Russia because Russia is kind of this weird place, what would you tell them about this situation and your life right now that they may not know?
So I would like for Americans to hear that you need to understand that the absence of active warfare for Ukrainians doesn't mean peace.
Mm-hmm.
Occupation by Russians brings torture, persecution of pro-Ukrainian civilians, mass deportations, shootings on the streets, and missing people. It is a form of genocide against Ukrainians, and it needs to stop. And we are fighting not for a piece of land, but for our people, because I know myself, and it is really hard for me to imagine how Ukrainians are surviving under occupation on the left side of Kherson region, in Donetsk and Luhansk region, in the Crimea, because they were occupied since 2014. And I cannot imagine how terrible a life for them is. So you need to understand that it is not just a question of land. We understand that Russians want us to be erased as Ukrainians, as a nation, because they completely erase our symbols, our language. On the occupied territories, they burned textbooks in the schools. They brought Russian teachers to start a studying year. And it is crazy. They shut down electricity, water supply for more than a month before they left Kherson region. And it is crazy.
They're a bit obsessed with that, aren't they?
Yeah.
They like to do that. So if they ever get in a war with us, we should warn our president that they might try to do something with the water. Huh?
And every civilian needs to have their water just
ready to go. Yeah. It's a very common. They seem to do that every time. It's very. I guess it works. But all right, Lidia, did I cut you off, or did you have one more thing?
I have free time, so
okay.
I'm really, really glad to have this interview because my heart really aches for my region, because right now Kherson is being shelled every day. They have human safari, as they call it, with FPV drones flying over the city and targeting mere civilians, like some granny that was having for a pasture her goats, for example, children, a newborn child in a garden that was in, the playground for a child in their private area. They shot civilians, and it is crazy for me because there is a distinctive line, the border between Ukraine deoccupied and occupied, and that line is Dnipro River, and that's it. You have 2 kilometers and there are Russian troops. Every FPV drone, every tank shell could target anything in Kherson. Even mortar are being shelled in Kherson. So yeah, and it's just.
I think there's a guy, I think his name is Colin. I'm probably pronouncing that wrong. Colin or Colin. He did a report in Kherson I saw recently. What I saw was a lot of the streets have these drone nets, but it's not a battlefield. It's just a town. But they have to have them.
Of course. But they also use drones to to spread landmines, like
Yes. Yep.
infantry mines. And who are they fighting?
Yeah.
We need to ask this question: who are they fighting when they just throw on the streets these masked mines, infantry mines? It's just
Yeah.
crazy.
Well, Duza Daku, Lydia, we're going to wrap up the interview here.
Yeah.
And before, so I'll stop the recording. And before I go, I have a couple last notes for you privately. But Duza Daku, and let's stay in touch.
You're very welcome. Yeah, of course.